could control, and it was how I was responding to the situation. And that's the thing that we know too about life as we get older particularly. It's not so much what happens to you, it's how you deal with what happens to you. It's how you position yourself in relation to that. So I'm hoping to tell you a couple of things today that are going to really pique your interest. And the first thing that I would like to tell you about is a man named Dr. James Pennebaker. He is a research psychologist from the University of Texas in Austin. And more than 30 years ago, so in the 80s, he was very curious about, just through happenstance, he happened to do a study, and the results really intrigued him. And this was the study. He had his university students split into two groups. To one group, he gave a certain set of instructions, and to the other group, he said, I want you to write about what's happening in your life day to day. So to the group to whom he had given instructions, he had said, I want you to write about the most traumatic thing that happened to you in your life, and I want you to write about how you felt about that, how you feel about that, what your feelings are. So really let yourself go. And you know, we're not that good at that, because we'll often think, I'll give you an example. My mother-in-law, I don't have one, so I'm going to use that example. Let's say my mother-in-law, well, she's not so bad, and she's trying her best, and you know, I can sort of get into that kind of storytelling. But if I'm really honest with myself, I might say, I hate her. She interferes in my life all the time. She's very frustrating to spend time with, etc. So there's a big difference between rationalizing, saying, well, it's not nice to say that about somebody, and really expressing your feelings. Now, one of the ways that you can ensure really expressing your feelings is by having the intention of never rereading it again. So what Dr. Pennebaker did was he told that half of the group of students, you're going to write about the most traumatic event of your life, and you're going to do it for 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day for 4 consecutive days. And then we'll see what the result is. Well, the result was astonishing. The people who wrote about their everyday life, nothing much changed. The people who wrote about their deepest, darkest feelings ended up seeing the doctor having less depression, having less symptoms, doing better in school, etc., etc., etc. So he got very curious. What is it about this expressive writing that is bringing about these results? And his results, his studies have been duplicated time and time and time again, always pointing to the same types of results. But one that I think is particularly interesting that I'd like to share from his book, Writing to Heal, whoops, there goes my speech, which I find particularly astonishing, is the following. Not only is expressive writing good for your health, it's good for many other parts of your life as well. So expressive writing may also be a method to alleviate anger and to make people more employable. A few years ago, I collaborated on a project with middle-aged men who had unexpectedly been laid off from their high-tech jobs after working for the same company for 15 years. As a group, this was the most angry, hostile, unpleasant bunch I've ever worked with. Some of the participants were asked to write about their deepest emotions and thoughts about losing their jobs. The control group wrote about how they used their time, part of America's peculiar obsession with time management. 8 months after writing, 52% of the emotional writing group had new jobs, compared with only 20% of the time management participants. Individuals from the two groups went to the same number of job interviews. The only difference was that the expressive writers were offered jobs. In many ways, the layoff study speaks to the heart of this workbook. Here was a group of successful men whose lives unexpectedly fell apart on a cold January day. The job market was terrible. Most of the men have families to support, all while having to deal with the humiliation of losing their jobs. Most couldn't talk about their experience in any detail with their families, neighbors, or friends. Prior to the study, the few who had gone on job interviews had been so full of hostility that their interviewers had wanted nothing to do with them. Only those men who were asked to address their emotion in writing benefited from the exercise. The writing helped them get past the experience. They weren't compelled to tell their prospective employers how they had been abused by their last company. Expressive writing helped transform these men from hostile ruminators into more open-minded and accepting adults. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that quite astonishing. That simply by writing about their feelings, their resentment, their anger, their frustration, they were able to move into such a different kind of life experience. The other person that I'd like to talk to you about, you may have heard of him. His name is Dr. John Sarno. He is known as the back pain doctor. And he was very popular in the 80s, although, so he is a physician with the Rehabilitation Center at New York University. And his theory was that anger manifesting in different parts of your body is really your body's way of distracting you from anger, from repressed emotions, from difficult feelings, from situations that you don't want to deal with. And so what he would tell his back pain sufferers to do was to do exactly this, expressive writing. And apparently, he claims that 90% of the people who came to him, even people with real physiological back issues, were helped by this approach. And he would say, look, I'm not saying you're not in pain, but what I'm saying is that you can address the pain in more ways than simply through medication and through other therapies. So, let's talk about journaling. Does anybody here journal? Okay, a couple of people. All right. Oh yeah, okay. And thank you, Paulette, for inviting me, because I know you're a believer. Oh, yeah, good. First of all, are there any rules to journaling as far as you're concerned, as far as you know? Is there anything that you, if I'm gonna journal tomorrow, if I'm gonna start a journaling practice, what should I do? Is there anything? Yes?
Just keep at it.
Right.
That's it.
Do you have to write every day?
No.
Okay. Do you have to write in full sentences?
No.
Okay. Can you swear?
Frequently.
Exactly. So there are no rules to journaling. But that being said, I do have a few suggestions if you're interested. First one, give yourself permission to tell the whole truth faster. We're going back to the mother-in-law story. Write quickly and keep writing. Don't edit. Don't edit yourself. You are not, nobody's gonna look at, in fact, nobody's gonna look at what you're writing except you. So just write. Start to write and try to keep writing, try to keep the pen moving, because what you want to do is you want to outsmart your rational mind that's trying to keep everything nice and pretty and okay. So swear. Write everything that you need to say. Tell that person exactly what you think about them and why.
Is there enough paper?
Pardon? Well, you know what? Sometimes it takes quite a few sessions before, you know, yeah, you start letting go of a lot of that. And the interesting thing too about his 4-day writing spree is that by the 4th day, people are kind of done with their trauma. They're kind of sick of writing about it and thinking about it and, you know, dealing with it. So that's how expressive writing helps. Before you start to write, some people like to have a ritual. Like I love to sit down in the morning with my coffee. I have a fountain pen. I take out my journal. That's my time for me. It can be tea time. It can be, you know, any time of the day that you want. As I mentioned, there are no rules to journaling. Some people find it great in the morning. Some people prefer to journal at night just to get the day out of their mind. It doesn't matter. Just journal. date your entries, because it's helpful to know that last year, at the same time, you weren't doing so well. Maybe you have seasonal affective disorder. Maybe fall is really a tough time for you. Maybe when the light starts to dim, the days are shorter, maybe you get depressed. Your journal will tell you that, will help you track that. Bring balance to your journal. Venting is great. Expressing what you need to say is great. But life isn't all negative. There are a lot of wonderful things that you can journal about. And bringing balance can be very helpful. So for example, I used to have a venting journal. That's where I'm not going to read it again, I just need to express myself. And you can do very ritualistic things, like you can burn the paper, you can shred it, you can transform it, you can make a paper mache heart, you can do whatever you want as a way of transforming. But the idea really is to be able to express yourself and then leave it alone. However, a gratitude journal, because there are many different types of journals. A gratitude journal is a wonderful way to realize that in spite of life's difficulties, in spite of everything that might come in to interfere with your peace of mind, there are magical, wonderful moments in life. And it's really important to remember that and to bring some balance to your perception, because it's all about our perception of what's happening. Protect your privacy. That's important because if you want to be honest with yourself in your journal, you don't want anybody to read it. If you're having marital problems, you don't want your husband picking it up and saying, "What? What?" So, either keep it under lock and key if you're in a situation like that. I've had people keep their journals in the trunk of their car. You can, I think an excellent thing to do is to tear it up, to just be done with it, or to do what I do, have a venting journal in which that's where you deposit those kinds of feelings, and then you set it aside. You never go back and read it. There's no point in going back and reading it. Once you finish doing a writing session, just sit with yourself. Just let it all filter in. Usually it's very helpful to write a little reflection. So, I've just vented for 20 minutes. What has that done for me? Am I feeling a little calmer? Am I feeling a little clearer about the issue? Do I feel a little happier, a little lighter? Just a little reflection about what has taking this time brought me. And also, you might ask yourself, okay, I've gone through all of that. What do I need right now? Might be take a walk, might be take a bath, might be call a friend, might be, go out for a coffee by yourself. It could be one of a million things. But it's good, once you've sort of had a chance to check in with yourself and to release emotions, situations, and so on, it can be very helpful to just take a moment to and see what next, what now? How can I help myself now? Because we know that self-care is also a very important part of any illness. So, why would you want to keep a journal? It provides a lot of insight into your thoughts and your feelings if you're honest with yourself when you write in a journal. It can be a great place to keep a record, and particularly if you want to keep, say, a pain journal, for example, or you want to keep track of your symptoms and what is helping and what is not helping. You might want to keep track of symptoms, treatments, and self-care strategies that work for you, that alleviate pain, that help you get on with your day, your week. It can help heal relationships, including with yourself. Because if you sit down and you let your best friend have it in your journal, then when you actually see your best friend, well, guess what? You're much calmer. Chances are you have a much better idea of why you're hurt. Are you hurt? Are you actually angry? Are you actually jealous? So it gives you an opportunity to process your feelings, understand what is at the heart of a situation, and then to be able to deal with it in an appropriate way. And of course, that applies to all the situations in your own life. The things that have happened to you in your childhood, or things that have happened to you, in my case, the midlife divorce. it gives you an opportunity to connect with yourself and to get clear about, how this situation changed you. And guaranteed there's a silver lining. And to be able to look for that silver lining is one of the benefits of journal writing as well. Your journal doesn't judge you. When you speak to a friend, well, so-and-so did, yeah, but so-and-so's going through a rough time. Okay, well, that doesn't really help my feelings about this situation. So in a journal, you can be 100% honest with yourself about how you're feeling, how you're reacting. You can be a 3-year-old, have a little temper tantrum. 3-year-olds don't rationalize. They don't worry about, well, how is so-and-so gonna take it if I X, Y, Z? They just are. They just live, they experience, they express. So tap into your inner 3-year-old and just see how that moves things along for you. It really helps also in providing 24/7 unconditional support. If you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because you're in pain, your journal will listen to you. Your spouse might not. If you, like me, during that crisis period, can't talk about it enough, your friends will tell you it's enough. Your journal will not tell you that. So, and this applies to grief as well. We live in a society where, okay, you've been grieving for a month now, on with it, time to, you get it, it's hard, all right? But your journal will not do that. Your journal is there to give you the time that you need, the space that you need to process the emotions. Only you know, and only you can feel and understand. So it also helps you tune out other people's opinions and their judgments. Sometimes we're so preoccupied, like we hear the voice of a parent or a teacher. It's not our voice. It's somebody else telling us, no, you shouldn't think that way. That's not how we do things. We don't, If you can really connect with yourself and write honestly in a journal, it's going to help you very much connect with who you are, what your values are, what's important to you, where you want to go, where you've been, how where you have been is affecting where you are today and where you're going to be in the future. Journaling provides you with all of that. And it's free. A pen, a notebook. Well worth trying. It reduces stress. And we know that stress is a major contributor to inflammation in the body. So inflammation connected to so many different illnesses. So if you can sort of bring down your stress level in a way, just calmly, in the morning with your morning coffee, what a wonderful practice. It'll help bring a new perspective, new objectivity into every aspect of your life. So, I know that I'm talking about me, me, me. Your journal is me, me, me. Is it navel gazing? A wee bit. But here's an interesting journaling activity that I find very astonishing. You start by writing, okay, you're very angry with your neighbor. They've got music playing at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't take it anymore. So you start with, I can't stand my neighbor. I think that he's so disrespectful. I don't think that he should, live in my neighborhood, la, 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 la. You say everything that you have to say. You write 1 or 2 paragraphs. Good.
1 or 2.
We'll start with 1 or 2. And then you write exactly the same paragraphs, but you replace the he or she with I. And all of a sudden you realize, ooh, maybe I'm sometimes disrespectful. Ooh, maybe I sometimes play music past midnight. Maybe it's a really interesting exercise. I really encourage you to try it sometime. It helps you tune into and trust your own intuition too, because we always know a lot more than we think we know. If we can get quiet, that's what meditation is all about. It's about getting quiet. It's about coming to your center, your core. It's about sort of, letting all of the flim-flom from the day just swirl around you, but to come back to your calm center. Meditation is a wonderful activity, as is mindful art, which is something that I also teach for the same reasons, because it's so therapeutic. And it's a way for you just to calm down and to be where you are now, because let's be honest, most of the time, who was it? Somebody, I think it was Mark Twain, who said, I have had many problems in my life, some of which actually came true. We catastrophize, we imagine, we create stories, you know. I was listening to a woman, actually I was having lunch with a girlfriend, and it was a perfect example of that. And she said, you know, I woke up and I had a twinge in my back, and it was very painful. And I tried to stand up, and it wasn't working. And then I was seeing myself in a wheelchair. And then I could see that I wasn't going to be able to help my partner. And then I could see, but in the present moment, she actually just had a little twinge in her back because she was experiencing a lot of stress in her life. It was almost predictable that something would come up in her body in dealing with that much stress. Types of journals. A very good type of journal would be a mood journal. So if you notice, for example, that when it's a cloudy day, my mood dips, my pain increases, that's a good thing to know. When I'm feeling happy, I don't feel the pain nearly as much, or it doesn't seem to interfere with me. Or when I'm engaged in gardening, for example, or an activity that I find really meditative, calming, I don't feel the pain so much. So it helps you sort of track some of the things that work for you, some of the things that can be helpful. And when you're writing about your feelings in a mood journal, like that's really at the heart of it, is when something happens, we all react. We have a reaction, and it's a very individual reaction. So your best friend might not even notice that somebody just insulted you, but you are like, you just can't deal with it anymore. So your journal is going to be the place that you can write about that, write about what the trigger was. Maybe that trigger was that when you were in grade 2, the principal treated you the same way, and you were humiliated. And so now this is bringing up those feelings. So it's important to include, to write honestly, as I said, be honest, get to the honest part as quickly as you can. And also include positive experiences, though. If you're going to have the kind of journal, unless you know you're throwing away the venting parts of the journal, it's important to, or even if you do the venting part and you tear that up and put that away, it's important to balance that. So, you know, did something good come from that experience? If not, then, you know, maybe sometime down the line you'll be able to make sense of something. Sometimes we're too much in the thick of things, and then it's not a good time to write. But you'll know that, because we know that. You know, if something is overwhelming, or it just happened yesterday and it was very traumatic, you'll know, I just can't go there. That feeling of, no, I just can't go there, that's okay, respect that. It's just you don't want to be doing that 10 years later. You can use a tablet or a computer. There is no reason why you have to write longhand. I love writing longhand with a pen, and I find that because it takes a little bit longer, it gives me a little bit more time to process things, but you don't have to. Studies have shown that it's all equally effective. And if you think about it, that is actually the whole thing behind psychotherapy. To be able to talk about things, to be able to express your feelings about things. And normally a good therapist will guide you. Well, how do you feel about that? How does that affect you in your everyday life, etc.? As I mentioned, you could keep a pain journal because you just want insight into what is actually happening with your body on a regular basis. So, for example, you might want to consider having a pain scale from 0 to 10. Where am I at today? What did I eat? Is there something that might have triggered it? Did a stressful situation happen? Is it raining outside, etc., etc.? Use descriptive words. So it's not enough to say, I'm mad at my boss. That's not enough. My boss came in when I was working on such a document, and he knew, she knew that I had 5 other things to do, and yet she asked me, that's what you want to write about. You have to be descriptive, you have to actually flesh out what is going on. Same thing with gratitude, by the way. It's not enough to say my cup of coffee. What is it about that cup of coffee in the morning that you find so enjoyable? Is it because it's time for yourself? Is it because you're looking outside and you're watching the birds? Is it because, or my grandchild? It's not enough. What is it about that particular interaction that was very special to you, that you are grateful for? Note external factors, including your emotions. So for example, are you feeling, on the pain scale, you're at an 8, but you just had a huge argument with your partner or with your best friend, or you had an incident in a parking lot with somebody and it really rattled you. It also allows you to track medications, activities that you do, how do those activities impact your health, etc. And it also points to what works. When I feel this and I take a warm bath with Epsom salts, it calms me, it helps me, that sort of thing. And a gratitude journal. So it's important to keep track of what's good in your life. And the reason why we want to do that is because, we all know, we've all met negative people. How much fun are they to be around? So if you yourself are that person, you can change that. You can change that because everybody has tons of good things that happen. And the interesting thing about starting to track things that you're grateful for is that you see more and more of them. It's like, for example, you buy a white car, or you're thinking of buying a white car. How many white cars do you see? It's the same principle. If you're focusing on, I'm going to pay attention to what's working in my life, what's helpful. It's a wonderful practice to do. I would like to give you just an example of a 5-minute journaling practice that I do most mornings. And this one, I'm not actually writing too much about feelings or anything like that, but it's something that I find very uplifting and very helpful in my life. So the first thing I do is I write about 3 things that I'm grateful for. And as I mentioned, it's not enough to just say coffee. I write about why I'm grateful for that thing. Then I write about 3 things that I would like to accomplish that day. What would I like to get done? And then the last thing I write about is, what did I do right yesterday? What was helpful in my day? Accomplishments. You want to keep track of all the things that, we're so good at focusing on what we didn't get done. Oh, I forgot that again, and I didn't phone so-and-so, and that's how you end your day. But if you can end your day with, yeah, there's that. But I did the dishes, I, made supper, I worked for 8 hours, I helped my son with, etc. You'll end up with a much better feeling about yourself. And let's be honest, the better you feel about yourself, the more it helps every health indices that there is, obviously feeling good about yourself reduces pain, reduces stress, reduces worry, reduces anxiety. Those are all really good things to try to cultivate. And sometimes I will add a final thing. So I think, okay, I'm going to make a commitment today. I'm going to make one commitment to my body. What does that mean? I'll take a walk, I'll go cycling, or I'll do some stretching. I will make one commitment to my mind. I will meditate for 10 minutes. Or I will read 15 minutes of that book that's been on my shelf that I've been meaning to get to. Or I'll do 10 minutes of anything that I know is going to help my mind. Journaling, obviously, would be the top of the list. And the last thing, a commitment to my soul. What is something that will bring me joy today? If you love art, do art. If you love to read, read. If you love to be in nature, go hug a tree. If you love taking a bath, take a bath. So that's my little 5-minute journaling practice. This is something that I do regularly. I also, but only as the need arises, if a situation comes up, I will journal about that situation. I will journal about who's involved, what the situation was, what my feelings are about it, and sometimes I will try to see it from another perspective. Let's say it's a conflict with somebody. It can really be very, very helpful to get out of your own way and see, well, how did the other person in the conflict see the situation? Why did they, what was it that they were trying to accomplish when they said to me, you're very lazy, for example? Well, is there something to it? Maybe have I let everything slip? Am I not doing my share in the household, et cetera, et cetera? So, so very, very practical, 5-minute journal, but also expressive writing as the need arises. There's one thing also called the flip-out rule, which Dr. Betta Baker talks about. And we touched on it a little earlier, but it is important because sometimes we have issues that are really bigger than us, bigger than what we can deal with, bigger than what our friends or our partners or our spouses can deal with. And we need to consult someone. So if you feel that you're writing about a particular topic is too much for you to handle, then don't write about it. If you know that you aren't ready to address a particularly painful topic, write about something else, but write. Tackle it when you're ready. If you feel that you will flip out by writing, don't write. But as I said, you're going to know that, you're going to feel that intuitively, instinctively. You'll know, no, I'm too close to the scene of the accident, so to speak. And so that wraps up my presentation on the benefits of journal writing. Are there any questions or comments for me about this practice? Yes, Paulette.
When we were discussing your invitation for today and then working out that you were going to do one workshop on September 3rd, and then we got to further where there's 6 workshops.
Yes.
Can you explain those 6 how there's a theme, obviously, for each workshop?
Yes.
What are those themes?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't developed yet, per se, because I've done a number of workshops in libraries throughout the West Island. So, but I can tell you that there will be definitely some expressive writing. There will also be some creative journaling, where we bring in other languages like collage, simple drawing. You don't have to be artistic to, the idea that a picture will paint 1,000 words. It can be very, very helpful in your journal. One journaling practice, for example, is just to flip through a magazine, find an image that somehow speaks to you that day. You'll see there's an image that you'll go, oh, cut that out, glue that on a piece of paper and ask yourself, why did you come into my journal today? What is it that you're here to tell me or remind me or share with me? So it'll be 6 weeks of some mindful art, a lot of expressive writing, some creative journaling. And each week will have a different theme.
And I would assume there's interaction. Let's say you use a collage or a drawing. You explain what it means to you, and somebody will, in their mind, how they see your drawing, your collage, and whatnot. Is that also part of your technique?
No. So what it is it's a very individual process. But what we do, though, is that if people are comfortable to do so, and you're never required to do so, but people sometimes like to share, because sometimes throughout a 2-hour workshop, you'll have an aha moment. You'll come to some realization, and you'll be eager to share it with other people in the group. So you are always encouraged to share, to participate, but it's not a requirement. And also we ask that you don't comment on somebody else's work, because these processes are all very individual. And so what you're doing on your page is understandable to you. Somebody else might interpret it, but it's kind of here nor there. It's really how you interpret what shows up on your page. That's important. But that being said, as you're doing the interpretation, you can come to an aha moment, come to a realization and say, wow, that was amazing. And then you want to share and you say, you know what, such and such, like for example, I was doing a workshop very recently at the Point Claire Library, and we were going through a process, and one of the participants said at the end of it, I thought I was happy looking after my daughter's dog, but I realized I miss my dog who passed away. And she burst out crying. She was able to connect with that feeling, something that she had been sort of pushing away, repressing, not really dealing with. So that's the kind of sharing that we do, and only when people feel like sharing.
So when we work on your 6-week workshop, you're gonna have to explain to me how I can advertise it.
Absolutely, yes, okay, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. But it's going to be really, it's, the basis of it is really to provide you with different ways of expressing yourself. That's really the bottom line. Expressing yourself, processing experiences, so that you can feel the benefits of, you know, reduced stress, reduced anxiety, more clarity, being more centered, you know, and so on and so forth.
Because you have a short sheet back to back, which to me would be ideal for advertising.
Okay.
It's in my binder.
In the binder. There's a sign-up sheet if anybody would like to get my newsletter, and I'm warning you, I'm a terrible marketer, so you're not going to be getting bombarded by newsletters. Occasionally, if I know that there's an upcoming workshop, I'll send out a newsletter to the people who are interested and who have taken workshops in the past. So if you would be interested in that, and there's also a sign-up sheet for the workshop on September 3rd. That one will be writing based, for sure. We're going to be doing more of the expressive writing, but I would be able to, at that point, also show you examples of what we do in terms of the mindful art and the other kind of journaling that I would like to introduce.
And it's here, and it's 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Terrific.
Okay.
So there's a sign-up sheet for anyone who would like to attend that as well. Great. So I want to thank you so much. Thank you, Paulette, again for inviting me. I appreciate it very much, and I hope that you will give it some thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy it, your beef, your spaghetti, or whatever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.